Hello everyone, and welcome to one of our regular ISOOSI Tuesday chats. We've got a very, very packed show for you today, and hopefully not too many fireworks, but a really interesting discussion with a lot of different viewpoints. Joining me today, we have Carlos Fernandes, we have Claire Jackson, we have Erik Stafford, we have Sheldon Lowery, we have Selena, we have Vin, we have me, and we've got a couple more people dropping in, hopefully, as we go on. So, welcome, everyone. Vin, I know you're going to want to jump in quite a lot.
Oh, I'll jump in, yeah. You're probably not going to want to start with my point of view, because I'd say, get some nice, amiable conversation going, and then let me ruin it.
Yeah, could be.
My argument is this: SEO is valuable. It does its job, and it has one job to do, and that's to get free eyeballs on your page. That's its job. All of your marketing should do one single job if you want it done well.
So, Vin, direct response copy has been used by big companies, some of the companies that Ammon mentioned, but back in the day it was all in print, right?
Right.
And
no SEO in print.
No, there's not, but they had distribution. They had eyeballs, right? And the whole goal, right, is to get people to see your pages. And you can write the most persuasive copy in the world. If people aren't seeing your pages, it's not going to do you a lick of good. You're not going to get the traffic you need to be able to split test and improve your conversions, and you're not going to get any sales.
Let's go back to that. That's a great example. If you go to that example and go back to the day when it was all magazine, print ads, and things like that, you don't have the guy who puts you in the magazine write the ad. It's a separate thing. The guy who finds you the place to put the commercial, the guy who says, you know what, we got 2 million eyeballs watching this Saturday morning show, so we're going to put this product on that Saturday morning show and show it to the world. You don't have that guy write the commercial.
You're right, but if he's good, he's going to give you some pointers and some best practices that hopefully you can incorporate into your work to try and make it work better.
Absolutely. If an SEO guy comes to me and says, you know what's going to help me? I'm going to do the meta tags, and I'm going to put, the tags underneath, the page where nobody sees them. I think what Carlos was talking about yesterday was this idea that it's that the SEO not being part of the user experience. I agree with that completely. And if that SEO person were to come to me and say, you know what would help me? Let's say we're selling North Carolina real estate. Could you just do me a favor and put the words real estate in the headline? I would say absolutely. I'll give you some examples tomorrow. I have no problem with helping each other. The problem I have is when people care about optimizing pages visually to where people can see it for SEO, when you can get all the millions of eyeballs on the page that you want, but if your SEO is in the way, if it's a speed bump in your copy, then you're screwed. You can have all the people look at it, all you can do is waste bandwidth. They're not going to buy it.
So there's a lot of people on the Hangout today that are specifically content writers with SEO in mind, and they toe that line. And so I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. Michelle, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do. First, I agree with what Vin is saying to a point. I don't think that it should be SEOs writing the copy. I'm all for taking suggestions. Obviously, when keywords were more of a factor, you wanted to get keywords. You wanted to make sure that the content that you're writing is in line with the content strategy that has been established. So I don't think that someone whose main focus or main skill set is SEO should be writing the copy. That should be left to the writer, because there is a lot more that goes into writing than just placing keywords or making sure that the SEO best practices are incorporated. That said, I hesitate to draw a distinction between content and copy. In my mind, content is anything that goes on a web page, anything that goes on a website, whether it's text or an image or a graphic or a video. That's all content. Even if it's sales copy, that's all content that is placed on a website. I think in this industry we have a tendency sometimes to this is how buzzwords get created. And we're coming up with new names for things that at least once a year something will change. Something that was called on-page optimization is now content marketing, and it can get to a point where it's confusing, not only for people in the industry who are trying to keep up, but also for clients, which is even more important. So I understand what the distinction that you're making, Vin, but I think that simply by placing the word, and this is where we're going to get into the word nerdery of it, simply by placing the word sales in front of it, it's sales copy. Just like there are different kinds of writing, there are different kinds of copy. There's fiction, there's nonfiction, there's poetry, there's white papers and ebooks and biographies, opinions, op-eds, all kinds of different copy, all different kinds of writing, but they're still all copy, just with whatever distinction is placed before it. Like I said, sales copy, opinion copy. Copy is what goes into newspapers. That's the main term that everyone who works at newspapers uses. So I would hesitate to start trying to draw a distinction between copy and content, especially because right now content is, again, it is such a buzzword. Content marketing is what a lot of clients are looking for. So I think that could possibly cause a little bit of confusion if that is perpetuated.
May I jump in?
Absolutely.
I think, yes, a lot of people are looking for content marketing right now, but when you dig deep into what they're looking for, because they come to me for content marketing too, and they're almost always, almost to a person, looking for article marketing. They're not looking for copywriting. And they are looking for articles that are going to sell, and I have to educate them on how selling is done and the importance of persuasion, and how the goal of an article is completely different from the goal of a sales copy. And you can say there are a bunch of different kind of writing. Of course there is, Michelle. There's news writing, there's journalism, there's being an author, writing fiction, writing nonfiction, there's television writing, which I did for 20 years, there's screenwriting, again a separate animal, and notice how each of them have a different name. You don't call television writing screenwriting because they're similar. They are separate entities. And that's all I'm saying. I'm saying that when you're looking to sell stuff, to me, in my mind, and in the minds of pretty much every direct response copywriter I've followed through the years, and I don't just mean that I've mentored under, and I don't just mean the names of the people that are floating around there today, but I mean everyone to a T calls the idea of writing things to get people to buy, they call it copywriting. And yes, in the world of journalism, they call it copywriting also. But in the world of marketing, just in our world, when you separate it to the world of marketing, of selling, copywriting has always been the domain of persuasion writing. Now, like I said earlier, in content, there is absolutely overlap here. Content does a lot for building reputation. Content does a lot for offering reciprocity. When you write content, you give people free information, they tend to like to reward you by buying from you. So there's definitely a place where the two live together. So I do think they're similar, but I cannot... listen, I don't care what anybody wants to call it. It doesn't matter to me. But I can't jump on board and say it's all the same, because to me it's not. You may say, I mean, if you want to say we're the same, and Michelle, here's what I say, and I'm going to shut up. I swear to God I will. If you want to put how we're together, if you want to put us in the same basket, okay, we're all writers. Let's just put it there. We're writers. That's the basket we can all be in.
I understand what you're saying, and yes, screenwriting is definitely different from television writing. However, those are very specific terms, whereas copy and content are broader, more generic terms. So that's where my concern comes in, is in taking what is a broad and generic term, copy or content, and trying to turn it into a specific, trying to apply that specificity to it. And screenwriting is very descriptive.
To me, now this is the thing, in the world of marketing, copywriting is completely specific and distinct You're just seeing it, I guess, from your side of it, you see it as being a general term. And all I'm saying is it's not. In the world of copywriting, it's not in the same basket.
Does Hangouts have that thing like on the Oscars and the Academy Awards where you push the button and the music starts and it just kind of forces someone off?
See, I didn't explain when I jumped on this call. I didn't explain to all you guys. See, I needed to explain how I'm going to do this. I'm only staying on 20 minutes, so I'm just doing it all at once.
Okay, all right then. No, I'm sorry, Eric. Just real quick, I get what you're saying, Vin. I'm not trying to say that all writing is the same or all copywriting is the same. I'm just saying that I understand there's a difference between sales copy and article marketing or copy that would be written for educational purposes. I think, though, that I want to back up to something else that you said real quick. You said they have completely different goals. I don't agree with that because I think that blog posts and articles and infographics, everything, all the content that agencies like ours create, that all of us are creating right now and engaging in content marketing, it is meant to sell. It's all different types of advertising. It's all different types of marketing copy. It's just that some of it is much more direct and much more, it's more the hard sell. That's how I see it. What you do is more a hard sell. What we do is a little bit more subtle, and it has a different way of bringing people in.
Michelle, here's the thing, and I, again, hear this all the time, but people who know my writing and have seen what I write and my team writes, we write hard sell. We also write soft sell. We write medium sell. We write really, really soft sell and extremely hard sell. We run the gamut on it. It's all copywriting because the goal of every part of the writing needs to have one goal. That's the thing I'm gonna lead this conversation no matter what and say. Your content, you may want it to sell, but it shouldn't sell, and it will not do the job that copy does.
Yeah, we're not talking about article writing, dude. I couldn't disagree with you more. I think any writer, whether you're writing screenplays, writing scripts for Hollywood, whether you're writing blog posts, articles, direct response sales letters, whatever you're writing, there are certain best practices that any group of authors will tell you to use. Things like using cliffhangers between chapters, things like telling stories, and things like asking for people to take action. That's just common sense that you would pick up from hanging out with any writer. I've learned a lot of that stuff from working with you, Vin, and with other really, really good direct response copywriters, and I think the point Michelle's trying to make is that those tactics can successfully be applied to any content. And at Passion Fruit, those two do it all the time. Carlos and I do it all the time. We create a lot of content for clients from an SEO perspective, but all of it is engaging and tells stories and is suspenseful and intelligent and smart, and we always put a call to action at the end of it, and it really all is just writing. It's writing content. So I think there's a huge overlap there. So I'd love to hear what Claire and Selena and maybe Carlos have to say about this.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I believe that they can be married together. I know that there's copy for persuasive writing and getting people in and making the sale, and I know that there's a mindset of having the SEO pages specifically to pull in engines and traffic that way. But for me, if I'm going to a site and I'm pulled in there from off-site content, right, I come across this great piece of content, I want to go directly to the brand and I want to look at what they have. If I go there and I see two different voices, where I see one copywriting and persuasive voice, and then I see one that's old school, kind of SEO-driven, more article style. For me, that would turn me off, because when I go to a brand, I want to see a consistent voice. And I feel like there's a way to integrate SEO and copy together where you're writing it, you have one consistent voice, you're selling without selling, which is really the goal of the copywriting side of things, but you're not disappointing anybody, any real people who are coming to your site as well. And if copy is written well enough, it can double its purpose. It doesn't have to be one thing here and search copy here. I see you pounding away angrily on your keyboard.
I'm not angry. I'm not angry at all. Not angry, but you're just, I mean, listen. I don't want to sound condescending at all. I don't, because I don't feel condescending at all, but I just feel like the page is to have two different voices. You talking about all of a sudden going from a nice, gentle, normal voice to hard sell voice, that's just bad writing. That's just wrong. You don't do that. It's not about changing voices. It's about changing goals and changing timbre and cadence and pacing. There's an art, there's a dance here that I think listen, just like I've seen a lot of bad SEO writing, I'm sure you've seen a lot of bad copywriting. They should all be abolished. It's as simple as that. But I don't think that makes them the same animal. It just makes them two similar worlds where there are a lot of people who suck at it.
I think, just to add in there, what Vin is saying is, he works hard at what he does, and he doesn't want some kind of, somebody coming along and optimizing what he's done to get this call to action to work.
Well, he doesn't want him gilding the lily.
What's that?
He doesn't want him gilding the lily, so to speak.
Well, I don't have any problem at all separating the two. I think that, when we talk about, I don't know if you saw what I had posted on the event page yesterday, but there's a big difference. When Vin originally said keep SEO away from my, the sales copy or the copywriting, if we take that and say just the on-page, but then there's a difference between on-page. I think that you can tweak titles and URLs just fine, and leave what Vin has done in terms of trying to get that conversion rate up inside the page, the human-focused bit, intact, and that's where the marriage of the two can align. I don't see that there is any. I mean, if we're just arguing about what to call it, I really do think there is two types of content. There's content that you just put out there in terms of, extra fishing rods in the ocean, that is SEO content that doesn't have the skill in terms of conversion rates and copywriting skill that Michelle and you and Vin have, the SEO guys put out. And yeah, they'll bring people in. Will they convert as well as your copy? No. But then again, if you put some of the copywriting out there without some of the optimization of the the shell attributes of the page, it's not going to get found as well. So there needs to be a marriage of the two.
Let me jump in there a minute.
Hey, Doc.
Hey, Guy, how you doing? The thing I've seen is everybody wants it to be PPC or content or technical SEO or one aspect or another is king, and that's bullshit. The damn thing is, you got a vehicle with 4 wheels, and if you take one of those wheels off, you're going to have problems. So they all have to work together. If the developer and the designer are at each other's throat all the time, you're going to have a problem. If the content writer and the marketer can't communicate and cooperate, you're going to have a problem. And if the team is not working, then somebody doesn't know how to build a damn team. And it needs to be fixed. Somebody needs to open the trunk and get out the spare tire and fix the tire. So, saying that the copywriter is screwing up my marketing, or that the marketer is screwing up my copy, I'm sorry. That's because somebody is failing to communicate.
Ammon has been awfully quiet during this discussion, and I know he's got a lot of experience with this sort of stuff. So, Ammon, do you have any thoughts you want to add here?
Okay. First of all, Vin, I'm more of a marketer than an SEO. SEO is one of the tools in my toolbox, and my toolbox includes copywriting, persuasion architecture, captology. That's one of my favourites. Captology actually comes from the education field. It's about changing people's behaviour. I fit all of these things together into a big puzzle, the same way that Doc was talking about that car with the wheels, but also with every gear in place, with every single little cog, with every light bulb that needs to be there to have that car just the way it's supposed to be. You mentioned earlier that you see copy as the salesman. I absolutely agree with you there. But I don't do that with one page. I mean, I'm one of these people who really loves dynamic websites. Look, take that great car salesman. He knows when everybody comes to his yard, he's looking at clues about them. He can see what clothes they're wearing, what style they're into from that, whether they've got a wedding ring, what kind of car they've looked at first, what's interesting them. And a really good website can do exactly the same things. I know what search engine they've come in from or what link they've followed to come in, and that's telling me something about them. I can look at what page they're looking at first, and again, that's giving me some clues. Now, this is selling. This is selling, and it's done by looking at the way people are coming into your site, the way they're engaging. I think one of those parts where we've got a difference here is you'll see in SEO and copywriting as different things. And for me, content is again part of marketing. SEO is part of marketing. I hate the way that people sort of misuse content marketing. Content marketing isn't about having a piece of content and then trying to promote it. That's just SEO. That's promotion. Content marketing is about creating the content you need to get the marketing message across in the first place. It's copywriting. It's exactly what you do, but it's when you're selling something other than the actual sale. You know, when you're selling an idea, or you're selling trust rather than necessarily just a buy button. I know most of your thing is hard cash, but you also know about persuasion beyond that. I've seen your writing. I know this. Oh,
it's honestly not mostly cash. As a matter of fact, I work in many fields where the big thing is to just get action, to get someone to make a phone call, to get someone to even sign up for an email is a huge part of copywriting. To just get somebody to give up their email address is sometimes harder than getting money out of them. So no, I will tell you this. Listen, I see everything you mentioned as marketing too. It all works together, but it's not the same thing. To go back to what Doc said, yeah, you have 4 tires you need on a car, but you need each tire on its specific axle. You don't put them all on one side. You can put 4 tires, each doing their own job. You break the car up into 4 sections, and each tire takes a quarter of the car. Absolutely. I see and respect what all of you do. I'm not saying what I do is better than what anybody else does. I believe that, but I think we all have to believe it. No, seriously.
No, yeah, you have to be confident in your work.
We all have to believe that we're the most important part of the puzzle, even though I know I'm not. I know that so much more goes into a sale than the copy. I get that. I know that. I intellectualize that. But in my gut, as a copywriter, I have to feel like it's all riding on me. And I can only go by experience. I love content marketing the way I understand content marketing. I describe it as content, delivering information and even training and free goodies that you're giving people. I consider all that content. I consider the graphics on a page to be content. I consider copywriting to be content. I love all of content, but content is not copywriting, because copywriting, if you ask an actual person who specializes in copywriting, you ask a Mad Men, you ask a John Carlton, a Clayton Makepeace, a Bob Bly, and they will tell you copywriting is the art of the persuasion of the sale. It's not about anything else. And yes, do you need to get people to know, like, and trust you? Yeah, that's the whole game. The whole game is getting them to know, like, and trust the person who is selling the thing. And that it can be done by article writing, blogging, Facebook liking, and all that stuff is important. But in the end, you got to take them through a funnel that starts with a simple formula of selling to them.
I just want to switch gears really quickly. I don't want this one topic to take up the entire Hangout, and I want to bring up a topic that's a little less controversial. I just want everyone to say what their favorite color is. No, I'm just kidding.
Here's copywriting.
Here's what I did want to ask you, because clearly there's a bunch of really talented writers on this Hangout, and you maybe all approach what you do or describe what you do a little differently, but at the end of the day, when you take on new clients, you're doing research. You're trying to understand who this client is. You're trying to understand what their business is, what their unique selling points are. So can each of you go down the row and just talk a little bit about how you approach that process? How do you get into the heads of your clients? How do you understand what they do, and then figure out how you want to verbalize that in terms of written content? Claire, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, I guess I knew being on the far right would be a problem. No, what we do basically is when we meet a new client, I mean, the first thing you do is research. You want to learn not only what their position is or what they care about or what they're offering, but what their audience cares about and why they care about that product. And so for us, I feel like a big part of it is coming at the material like someone who might be interested in whatever it is we're writing about might approach it, and then kind of do a little bit of reverse engineering just to try and get into that headspace.
Carlos, what do you think?
Well, I was going to ask Michelle and Vin in terms of their process, because we have our own way of doing things, Eric. I mean, Michelle and Claire, do you start off with, is it like in-person meetings for you guys, project briefs? How does that process of getting to know the client and to know that audience, how do you attack that process? Because it's like what Doc said last week, about project briefs. Quite often, most things that clients put down on project briefs is, either useless or it's what they think. They've got their own perceptions of what their audience is thinking. And, we find that difficult. And, it does all go down to research and trying to find out what the audience for the product is thinking and the emotions involved in the brand and everything. But, certainly there's a process there that you need to go through. And it'd be interesting to hear from you and Selena about, and Vin, about how do you get inside the client's head and inside the head of the audience as well.
I actually think that it's less about getting into the client's head and more about getting into the audience's head, because the client themselves may not even really understand how to effectively reach their audience, and that's where we come in. So some of it is initially, like Claire said, research and talking to the client. What do they do? What's their product? What are they selling? What are they trying to accomplish? But then there's also some client education. And for that, the first thing that we do, even before any research or looking at any statistics or anything like that, is it comes down to trying to empathize with the audience. We put ourselves in their shoes. If we're consumers too, we buy things every day. So whatever this, this new client, whatever it is that they sell, if we were going to purchase that item or product or service, what would we want to know? What's important to us? What is going to get us to, take out the credit card and make that purchase? And that's the first thing that we do to try to approach things from their perspective, and then to be able to create content that speaks to that. So that's really the first thing, and then we will get into where is most of your audience coming from? What are your we don't usually ask for I'm going to get into a lot of detail here, but we usually don't ask for access to clients' analytics, because we don't get into the SEO side of things. So we do depend on them to provide us with that information. But it really another thing we'll do, part of that research, is looking at their existing content. What's worked in the past? What's popular? What is already there? Making sure that we don't duplicate that, or if there's something that is already there but it wasn't done very well, we can improve on it. So it's a long process, actually. It's not just an hour spent with a client and then boom, okay, we've got a strategy and we know how it's going to go. Sometimes it takes a little while to get into that groove with a client and get to the point where we're creating content on a regular basis that's working for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we approach it the same way, and I think Vin does as well. He posted there that he agrees. But Selena, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so for me, I definitely agree that the client most of the time doesn't have an idea of what they want, or they don't have an idea of what was successful. Their definition of success is much different than something that we would find successful. So typically I put together an onboarding document, and I ask some questions about what they thought was successful, what they've seen as successful from other people in their field or other brands in their field. I take a look and I ask them what they think is controversial, what they are and aren't okay with creating content around, like what space they will and won't play in. I also talk to multiple members of the team, so it's kind of an ongoing process. I get analytics so I can start digging through there and look for things that they may not even know they have an opportunity for content for. I talk to the customer service teams, I talk to the marketing people. I also ask them who they think their audience is, and then I start doing some research to find out if there's an opportunity to reach a new audience, what other sites may align with this client and their brand, and that kind of kicks off the strategy portion too. And then after doing the first piece, I take a look at the results with them together, and then we can customize it from there. So it starts with sending them a document and asking them what they think, then educating them, seeing if it aligns with what space they really need to be in, and then working from there.
I mean, I approach it very simply. There's basically an interview with clients. Sometimes it lasts, an hour when we're both on the same page. Current clients that work with me over and over again know the drill. They know how to work it, so we can kind of shortcut it. There isn't a lot of educating the client. I was taught early on by a mentor, David Garfinkel, the world's greatest copywriting coach. I was taught early on that you never want to have to educate them. If you have to educate them, they're probably not going to be happy because they're going to a different mindset. Usually people will hire me based on reputation or even they've seen my work and they go, okay, I want that. Now, do I have to educate them into why I'm doing what I'm doing? And I don't. I stay out of all that. But I do, we have a meeting. We set up what I need to know. I go through a meeting with my team, and we go over what we've learned, and we see what else we need to know. I have another meeting with the client. Sometimes that's done on Skype. Other times it's literally just email to get more answers. And then I'm basically put off to do what I do. Sometimes, depending on the market, I will go back with a what I call a direction doc, and this is, listen, this is where we're going. I just wanted to make sure you understood where we're going with this, and I will let the client see, what we're thinking. Basically, 4 or 5 pages of downloading where my head is at today. That's usually a week into a project, and then I just go and do it. And so, I mean, it's not exactly like everybody's process. My agency is not like everybody else's agency. We do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, but you do a lot of research, Vin.
Completely.
Yeah. I mean, so the internet has made research easier. Carlos and I approach that process really looking for angles. Carlos is looking for angles of where he may be able to compete from an SEO or keyword standpoint, and then he and I together are looking for angles that we can use in our marketing, in the branding, in terms of what we can highlight about different products, different benefits that we can point out. So the research process, all you guys use the internet now for research, right? And sorry, Doc, what? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, Doc.
Well, similar to most of you, I think we have 2 different divisions. We have a content strategy and generation division, and then we have an SEO division. We use the same discovery process for both. Sometimes we'll add a little bit more to one or the other, depending upon as the situation develops and what we need to find out. But we have a discovery process. I send them out a form. I ask them a very basic question. I get access to their analytics, and then we'll have usually a 1 to 2 hour video chat with them, and we'll go through the questions. I try to determine how much of a feel this particular client has for his customers. And as everybody else has said, 9 times out of 10, well, that may be heavy. 7 times out of 10, they have an idea of what they would want if they were a customer. They haven't got a clue what their customers are really looking for, or the way that they're looking for it. So I like to talk, if they have a customer service department, I like to talk to some of their customer service reps. I like to go, if they have a blog, I like to go to the blog and read some of the comments from their users. And, if they've done any previous marketing, I want to see what they've gone after and look at the results of those campaigns, because so often they're chasing the wrong dog.
Yeah, and Doc, when you get a client that doesn't want you to chat with their sales reps and doesn't want you to talk to their customer service people, that's a red flag.
Red flag, you bet.
Yeah, that's bad news. So
I always ask, if I get resistance to change, if somebody says, here's my keyword, or here's my persona that I'm going after, and I say, well, how do you back that up? How do you justify that? Have you really done any research, or is this just a gut call? And I get resistance. The first thing I do is I ask him, once we're done with this campaign, how many of your product do you intend to buy? Because if the 10% increase in sales you're looking for is not going to come out of your wallet, then I don't care what you want to see. I can't give you results selling to you. We need to sell to your potential buyers.
One of the hardest things to teach a client, and it is one thing that you almost have to do on a daily basis. I'm agreeing with you, Doc. Is this idea that you have to remind your client that they are not their customer, and that since they're not the one who's going to be buying their service or product, that it doesn't the whims of the copy. The direction of the copy can't come off whims. Like I tell clients, I will listen. I'm one of the few people in this business who literally we will rewrite copy forever. If we have to keep rewriting it to get it perfect, to get it selling its best, we will rewrite it forever based on testing. I will not rewrite a word based on the fact that your brother-in-law thought it sucked. Everything comes off testing.
My start off is often a little bit different because I often come in much more to look at the overall marketing strategy of online rather than just a specific part. But yeah, I'm often contacted by a company who have come to me for SEO. We want link building, or we want to be ranking for this phrase or that phrase, and it turns out that's not what they want at all. What they really want is, look, we did this well last year. We want to put up sales by 40%. And so that will start me off asking questions like, okay, would you like that to be 40% more customers spending the same, or would you like your customers to be spending 40% more? Because I may not need any extra traffic at all. What you might be doing is getting some better copy, or to do more cross-selling and upselling. And, I think too many companies, when they look at SEO, jump on what they think is what they need to do, but they're looking at a link in the chain instead of looking at what that chain is supposed to be pulling in the first place, money from someone's wallet. My usual start with a company is the first thing I'll probably send people document-wise is a bill, and that'll be a bill for 2.5, 3 days of my time, whereupon I will do a full analysis of their company, what their market position is, what their sales are at present, what their opportunities are, full SWOT analysis, full competitor analysis, and a half day talking with them, really going into the depths of their marketing plan and creating an addendum for their online, looking at what they can really do to tie it all together back to what they want. I mean, one of the most basic things that ties back to copy and content, it was amazing in the early days to me how many companies had a marketer who had never sold anything directly in these writing the copy. And a lot of companies, if you've got a sales force, that's the people who should be writing your content to a large extent. These are the people who actually sell. These are the people who can profile your customers and say, look, this is what I'm asked a lot when I'm actually face-to-face with people. Marketers didn't have a clue. They've sat in a boardroom for years. They've never actually talked to a customer, and suddenly they're having to, and they're not realizing that that's the difference. They're not producing a flyer. They're not producing a little brochure. They're not producing an ad to go in a paper. They're actually talking to a customer. And that, you know what, maybe you need to leave this to somebody who's talked to customers. A specialist writer like Vin. Or if they haven't got that already in company, the closest equivalent they've got isn't their marketing department, it's their sales department.
So working with clients in the past, I typically have to talk to a lot of different team members in order to sell a content strategy or any kind of strategy and get them all on board. Usually the different stakeholders worry about different things. So another piece of advice is just collect all the data you can from the point when you send the onboarding document to the point when you actually send them the initial strategy. Because I can guarantee you that there's going to be 1 or 2 people when you're trying to discuss a strategy with them that'll disagree with you or feel like you're not understanding their brand. And if you can actually show them the data, I mean, there's really no way to argue with data. If it's there, it's there.
I just want to talk to all of you incredible content creators and copywriters about how you find things to write about, how you highlight different elements of different products, different elements of people's personalities, and some of this touches on branding. I know that Ammon and I feel that way, but I'd love to know how you guys find what you're going to highlight or talk about in specific pieces that are either going to get people interested and keep them reading or get them to buy in Vin's case. So does anyone want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I'll start that out. a lot of that for me comes from competitor research. I look and I'll see, two things. What is the competition having great success with topics? What approach they're seeing a lot of success with, and what things are unique that none of the competition is touching upon that would hopefully resonate with the users. And a lot of that's intuitive. Sometimes it's just intuitive. Sometimes it will be, again, if I'm in with an enterprise that has a customer service department, a lot of times I can get great topic ideas from them. What are a lot of your questions about? Where do your users call you and say, I don't understand this page, or I don't understand the concept of what you're talking about with this product, and that needs some amplification. And try to identify, once I've determined what the persona is that we're really going after, then what are their real basic interests above and beyond the information on the page that they may be talking about. What is their goal? What are they looking to accomplish by owning this product?
I think I agree with Doc again. Very similar to what I do. I look at what the market is doing. Sometimes I want to follow the market. Other times I'm really looking for the opportunity to position against them and become the zig to everyone's zag. And sometimes that works great. Sometimes it doesn't. That's why testing is important. But other than that, I mean, the most important thing in my business, and this is probably separate from all the other types of writing, is it's a lot of it's based on the unique selling proposition of the product or service.
So I definitely agree with the competitor analysis. I spend a lot of time mining the comments both on site from a potential client or current client's content, and then also looking at comments on a competitor's side of things. I'm really big into tracking social conversations too, because that can give you a real hook on something that may be a little controversial. And I feel like finding those little tiny pockets of conversation can sometimes make for a really great piece, and you can pull in both sides of the fence with that. So I feel like really getting where the audience is and digging through all of that stuff and trying to find common themes or points where there may even be some disagreement can make for a good piece.
Cool. Very cool. Any thoughts on this from the Passion Fruit crew?
Yeah, it's. I'm gonna repeat something that I said earlier because I agree with everything that has been said up to this point. So just to reiterate, some of it is just trying to think like the audience, trying to think like the buyer. What's interesting to us? What's going to make us want to buy? And trying to align that with the goals that the customer is trying to accomplish. Throwing in that education if they're not quite hitting the mark.
Cool. Yeah, I know for Carlos and I, a lot of this is comes down to just trying to find and highlight different elements of products or businesses that maybe they didn't think of highlighting that none of their competitors have. Like a soap that's got lanolin. Maybe every soap has lanolin, but someone had to be the first to say, now with lanolin, right?
And you're talking USP, Eric.
I absolutely am. I mean, it's really about finding and highlighting things that a company may do particularly well, or something that all of the companies in that space do, but no one has yet highlighted, and really making it a selling point. And I think some of these things that I've learned from working with Vin and some other really amazing direct response copywriters, in terms of selling facts and versus benefits. One of them is going to sell incredibly well, and one of them will not. Facts are great. People love facts, but facts aren't what sells. Like Vin had said early in this call, benefits are what sells. People want to know what is in it for them, what it's going to do for them. And so, you may be selling the Chevrolet Godzilla, and it may be the heaviest truck on the road. It weighs 5,000 pounds, but that's a fact. That is not a benefit. The benefit is that your family is going to be safer.
I think part of that too is trying to find a perspective where you can appeal to emotion. I'm going to build on something that, and correct me if I'm wrong now, I think I've been saying your name wrong. It's Ammon instead of Ammon?
Yeah. Ammon.
Okay. Something that Ammon just wrote about the difference between desire and need. Buying is 9 times out of 10 an emotional experience.
Yep.
Or an emotional endeavor. So yes, there are things that you need. You need to buy food. You need to buy clothing. But if you're selling something that is not based on need, and you're selling something that's based more on desire, you have to try to appeal to that emotion. And if it's whether it's desire or whatever emotion, it can be correlated to that product. If you can appeal to that, you're in.
Just going back to what Ammon was talking about regarding discovery, 9 times out of 10 when we work with clients, it's the first time they've ever had to consider their business online and what people really want to understand and know about them. And we find the process is always most useful when they get onto paper first, because it could be the first time that a business has ever had to consider thinking really long and hard about A, their target audience, and B, what they really want to, how they want to guide them, what they really want to do with them. So I think part and parcel of the answer, I think, of the riddle, is once that buy-in with a customer happens, where they understand what they need to try and the message they have, what they're all about, their passion, why they created their business in the first place. If you can do a good job of getting that information out of their head onto paper and then transfer that online, they will not have any competition in the world, because they're unique and their brand will shine through, and the way in which they go about their business will win through as well. So I think, based on what Ammon said, so true, the discovery process, we need to think nothing really about the internet, Google, SEO, anything at all. Let's put on paper, as a business, what's their passion? What do they really do? What's their history? Where have they come from? What challenges have they overcome? Why did they choose to start that business? The staff. And I think when you do that and you get them talking and explaining and then feeling the excitement and enthusiasm and passion of putting that information out there and telling it to you and writing it down, it's 10 times more easier, I believe, to get someone's buy-in and to help them transfer that online. That's really what I wanted to add, guys.
Yeah. When when Erik came over from Cayman and joined us again, what was the year, Erik? 2004.
Yep.
Yeah. I had, prior to that, I would have called myself just an SEO. Not just an SEO, but I was a numbers guy, data analysis, and probably never really thought about myself in a marketing role or how SEO kind of played into the bigger marketing sphere. And one thing that Erik did that I'll always be grateful of is, when we used to go into meetings, I was always kind of the quiet one who go and do keyword research and do a lot of the research, but again, it was all based on numbers. And Erik used to always draw this I don't know if you remember that. I mean, we still do it now, but it's we're both on different coasts, so I don't see Erik's dartboards anymore. But Erik always used to go into the meeting and draw like an archer's board with a bullseye, and we used to do this. It was our little thing, and Erik used to draw it, and he said, put words on this board. What word really sums up your company? And obviously, all the clients always said quality. That was always the first thing that the clients always said was quality. And 2 or 3 minutes in, they're still saying words that every business always says. And then they'd start saying things like agility, and it would start getting a little bit more. After about 45 minutes to an hour, we'd really start hitting what it was that they used to want to get out, but they could never really try to vocalize before. And we'd really get some cool words that they'd probably never vocalized before, really near the bullseye of this board. And I still do that out. I'm on the West Coast now, and Erik handles all the East Coast. But I still use that, and it was a real big lesson for me in terms of getting me starting to think about marketing. I mean, I still do the keyword research, I still do all the data stuff, but now I'm much more of a I see the SEO's place in a bigger sphere of marketing, and now have a lot more tools because of Erik in terms of trying to get out of a client what they need, what they want to convey to their audience.
Another interesting way to start understanding their unique value proposition or what's great about their business is when you're doing your initial call, potential clients are used to you asking a lot of questions over and over and just, drilling them and trying to figure out what you need from your perspective. But really just let them talk. Ask them what their business is about and let them talk. Don't ask questions. They'll start to get a little nervous and just start, to keep talking and talking and talking. And you can also ask them what their story was. So sometimes just being quiet is a lot better than trying to dig out and get the answers from them.
I think this is really one of the reasons that Carlos and I have been able to find some success. Obviously, we work like dogs, but we really approach it from a very different standpoint, and we both truly see the benefit in what the other brings to the table. And I understand that there has to be analytics, there has to be keywords, there has to be SEO, there has to be a technical and analytical foundation of your marketing efforts. And Carlos has moved a bit towards the center as well, and I think that our different backgrounds have really kind of helped us. So, any final thoughts, guys, as we wrap up this incredibly informative and argumentative and awesome Google Hangout? Let's start on the left of my screen as I see it. Ammon, who's telling me it's wrap-up time? Look at that. How's that for timing?
Yeah, I think the really interesting thing that we've come across today is tying back what we've always said. You can't have content without a marketing plan, because your content strategy has got to be an integral part of what you want to achieve. And sometimes that's not just one-dimensional goal either. It's not just sales, because one thing that people really get wrong with SEO is that, look, Google should be your friend, so should Facebook, so should a lot of other channels, but the biggest driver for traffic, if you've been in business for 2 years, should be your own repeat traffic coming through from your reputation, from your engagement, from your having built up an email list, from your having established contact with those customers. If you're still attracting customers through Google that have already bought from you in the past, what are you doing wrong? Because you haven't managed to build your brand. Next person.
Oh, sorry, Doc, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think that it's important to know that you have a whole quiver full of these arrows, and you need to know which arrow you need and where you want to point it before you pull the string. So I think that that's what I'm taking away from today, at least, and I guess the desire to shoot people with an arrow. So anyway.
Yeah, I think, again, kind of on the same theme, I think that the biggest problem that I see is so often we, as you use the term, Carlos, we silo ourselves and we think that our function is the most important. And it isn't. It's just one of the important functions. And it's got to all work together. When I throw a party at the house, I don't invite the guests, ask them to show up at 7 o'clock, and then at 6:59 decide I ought to do some shopping and clean the living room. You get your house in order, and you get all your site presentable, you get your conversion funnel started, and then you bring in more traffic. And that takes teamwork, because we offer, for instance, through our SEO, we offer all the services. We actually perform approximately half of them ourselves, because you can't be good at everything. So we have alliances with other SEOs. For instance, I do not touch PPC. What I know about PPC is just enough to break a customer. So I have people that I bring in for PPC issues. But it is often the most important tool when we're doing research or testing. It's a great way to bring in traffic, targeted traffic, and for some customers it's the best way. For other customers it would be a waste of money. I don't always have the best ability to make that decision. So it's a teamwork effort, and I think that's the biggest thing. Get out of the silo. Get out in the farmyard with the rest of the animals and realize that you're all playing together. It's not a farm. It's just, you can't have a pig pen or a chicken coop. You want a farm, you got to have all the animals out there together.
Cool. Selena?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is clearly, everything isn't just one track, and if you can pull anything from this discussion is that we all have different techniques for essentially getting all of the information that we need to make great decisions for a client or a brand. And I think you really need to go in and break down the barriers on the client side and just try to understand what everybody's goal is, what everybody's saying, and how can you actually use that to benefit the client. So really, I think discovery is just a common theme here, and that's where everything should start. And that's something that's extremely important. You know, don't turn a blind eye to one side because it's not in your specific arsenal, or it's not something that you don't understand. There's still value in it.
Me?
Vin?
Okay, two things. First, I hope everyone is clear now, because I even took from the closing statements that some people still seem to think that I'm saying you don't need articles, you don't need content, you don't need SEO. That's completely wrong. I think that you need it all. And like Doc said earlier about the 4 tires, you need 4 tires. And another analogy real quick is on a baseball team, you need everybody on the team, but you don't ask the pitcher to also run behind the plate and catch at the same time. You give each guy one job to do. And that's all I want to stress. Put the jobs that are most important to selling your service or your product and give those jobs to specialists who specialize in one of them. That's all I'm saying. That, and the last thing I'll say is look for my upcoming article in ISOOSI, because I'll be blogging about this meeting.
So, you know, Vin, you and I have known each other for a very, very long time, man, and I have a huge respect for you, and I think that we can all learn, you know, about direct response copy. I know that what I've learned about writing direct response copy has made a huge impact on all of the content that I write, whether it's email sequences for email marketing or blog posts, or whether it's even just general content. And so appreciate you joining us on the call. We may have different viewpoints, but we're all big, big believers in writing intelligent content to market our businesses.
I think we're all saying the same thing. I think we're all one big happy family now. And I totally agree. Vin's shaking his head, but no, I totally agree. We all are, you know, specialists in our individual fields. Maybe I just think that, you know, if we can just broaden it a little bit and learn more about each other's fields, you know, there's only positive things that can come out of that. And I do think that there is a difference between the copywriting Vin was, you know, talking about and the type of content that I would write, you know. But my aim is to get it more like Vin's. I respect what he does, and I know that it converts better than something that I could put together. But, you know, again, we've probably got SEO skills that, you know, Vin doesn't know about. So it's kind of, you've got to get that marriage of it together. And if you're a specialist in a particular field, you've got to reach out to those folks. You know, by networking, social networking, or whatever, you've got to find other specialists in different fields that you're not so good at, so that you can do the best for the client in totality. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much that's what we've always done, Eric, and I think it works well. You've got to collaborate. You know, with the client's best interests, you know, as the main goal.
That's it. So let's wrap up our Tuesday ISOOSI chat on Google Hangouts. We wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Great talking to you.